warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are from Group 2, and here we are going to explain the elements of poetry. So first of all, let us introduce ourselves.
Pak, maaf, paper kami itu tadi ada error pas di tempat printnya, jadi kami belum print. Kalau kami kasih jobnya bisa kah?
Lanjut aja dulu.
So first of all, my name is Safidadia Tadadewi.
And my name is Kristina Firgiana Revani.
My name is Togas Kirikinario.
And I'm Karina Diandra Prati.
Introduction first. Why is it important to know the elements of poetry? Poetry is a powerful way to share feelings and ideas through carefully chosen words. It mixes things like how the poem looks on the page, its a physical elements, how it sounds, it's a rhythm and rhyme, and what the words mean. It's a linguistic elements to create a unique and emotional experience. Knowing these basics helps you get why poems are so powerful and moving. Jadi puisi itu cara yang indah gitu buat berbagi perasaan atau ide dengan kata-kata yang dipilih dengan cermat. Poetry juga memadukan beberapa hal kayak tampilan poetry yang ada di halaman itu masuk ke elemen fisik gitu. Terus bunyinya itu masuknya ke ritme dan rima. Terus arti kata-katanya itu masuknya ke elemen linguistik. Buat ciptain pengalaman pas baca atau dengar tuh unik dan emosional. Dengan kita tahu dasar-dasar yang ini, kita dapat memahami mengapa puisi itu begitu kuat dan menyentuh atau begitu indah. Okay, next.
Okay, the next is the physical aspect. So what is the physical aspect? So physical aspect is the poem's visual and structural aspect, and its appearance on page and its organization. So the first aspect is the lines. So lines are the arrangement of line in the page, influence of poem's flow, and can create emphasis. Poets may use line breaks intentionally to control pacing or highlight key ideas. As you can see here in the picture, those are the lines. Okay, next. The next one is stanzas. So stanzas are a group of lines in a poem that are similar to paragraphs in a prose. So the way stanzas are structured can affect the rhythm and how the themes develop. It's a technique of dividing and organizing a poem which puts a group of lines together. And here is the example of stanza. Okay. And there are types of stanzas. The first one is couplet. Couplet is a stanzas with 2 lines. And then the next one is tercet, a stanzas with 3 lines. And quatrain, a stanzas with 4 lines. Quintain, a stanzas with 5 lines. Sestet, a stanzas with 6 lines. Septet, a stanzas with 7 lines. And octave, a stanzas with 8 lines. And then the next one is the form. So the overall structure of a poem is called the form structure, such as sonnets, haikus, limericks, or free verse. Each has its convention regarding meter, rhymes, and line length. There are actually a lot of forms in poetry, but here I'm going to talk about several of them. So the first one is sonnet. So sonnet is a 14 lines of poem, which traditionally made up with 14 lines in iambic pentameter, with 10 syllables in each line and a specific stress pattern. Not all sonnets have the same rhyme scheme, so to figure it out, we'll look at the last word in each line. Each end sound is assigned to a letter of the alphabet. However, in this era, we know the sonnet is often divided into two different rhyme schemes, which are the Shakespearean sonnet and the Petrarchan sonnet. So for example, we take a look on this Shakespearean sonnet. Blue. So these are the Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer day, thou art more lovely and more temperate? Rough winds do shake the darling spot of May, and summer leaves had all to short the day. As you can see in this stanza, the last word in the first line rhymes with the third line, and the second line rhymes with the fourth line. So, yeah, it is the typical Shakespearean sonnet. And then the next one is haiku. So haiku is the traditional Japanese form made up of 3 lines. The first and the third line have 5 syllables, which the second line has 7 following the 5-7-5 pattern. Haiku usually focus on nature and capture a moment of observation that's fleeting. For example, here is the form of haiku by Matsuo Basho. Next. So next is Villanelle. Villanelle is an 18-line poem made up of 5 tercets, followed by a quatrain. The first and the third lines of the first tercet are repeated at the end of the other tercet, and both appear in the final quatrain. The rhyme scheme is as follows: ABA, 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 ABA. So then we take a look from the snippet from the poem "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night" by Dylan Thomas. Do not move gentle into that good night. Old rage should burn and rage until set of day. Rage, rage against the dying of life. As you can see in the stanza, the last word in the first line rhymes with the third line. It is indeed followed the rhyme scheme A. And then the next one is limericks. So limericks are humorous poems. That is lines rhyme scheme and follow the strict rhyme scheme of A. Limericks are typically lighthearted and playful, with the first, second, 5th lines longer than the third and the fourth. For example, this one is the limericks example. Okay, so there was an old man with a beard who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls and a hen, 4 larks and a wren have built their nest in my beard." As you can see here, in the limericks form, it is very humorous and playful poem. Okay, next. Free verse. So as the name sounds, it is a form of poetry that does not follow any specific either rhyme scheme or structure. Free verse allow the poets to create their own rule, focusing on natural rhythms, imagery, and the flow of language. It offers more flexibility than traditional forms. And as you can see here is the example of the free verse, "The Red Wheelbarrow" by William Thomas Lewis. It's very short, and it just 4 couples long, and it goes, "So must depend upon a red wheelbarrow, laced with rainwater, besides the white chicken." free first, and you are free to do anything in the poem with no repetition whatsoever. And then the last one is ballad. The ballad is a narrative form, poem that tells a story, often in portrait with A-B-A-B or A-B-C-B, rhyme scheme. Ballads are traditionally associated with folk tales, legends, and are often feature a dialogue, action, and a steady rhythm, often used in song. So for example, in this picture, you can see a poem from Samuel Taylor Coleridge, The Rime of Ancient Mariner. It is an ancient mariner, and he stopped of three, a one of three, by thy long gray beard and glittering eye. Now, wherefore stops he? As you can see here, it does feature a dialogue and action. As far as I know, this poem does have several parts, and it's very long. It's 7 parts, and it's a very long poem. And that's all from the physical aspect. And then next we move on to the sound aspect.
Let's just cut into the case. So sound aspect. These elements I'm going to talk about focus on how the poem sounds when read aloud, contributing to its musical rhythm and mood. So first of all, there's rhyme. And now I'm going to tell you about different types of rhymes, including end rhyme, internal rhyme, slant rhyme, or imperfect rhyme, and I rhyme. So first of all, end rhyme. End rhyme occurs when the final words of line in a poem rhyme. For example, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep. Deep and keep rhyme at the ends of the lines, so this line contains rhyme. And next is internal rhyme. The rhyming of two words within a line of poetry. So let's read the example lines here and notice that they have a word within the same line of poetry that rhymes. This creates internal rhyme. So I drove myself to the lake and dove into the cold. So in this example, drove and dove rhyme within the same line, creating an internal rhyme. And next is slant rhyme or imperfect rhyme. So it occurs with two different types of rhyme, assonance and consonance. Assonance is a rhyme of two words that share a vowel sound, and consonant is the rhyme of two words sharing a consonant sound. So let's view the example and notice how the repetition of consonant sounds and vowel sound creates slant rhyme. The moon hung high in the velvet sky, her glow soft light shining wild and bright. This breeze whispers soft, through leaves that were lost. In shadow that crawled like dreams we had tossed. So the assonance is light and wild. It shares the long I sound, like light and wild. And consonant is soft and lost, where the sound in this poem, the slant rhyme works by subtly linking the sounds of the word to the perfect rhyme. And then I rhyme. I rhyme occurs when two words look like they would rhyme because of spelling, but the pronunciation does not reveal true rhyme. So as example, the wind through blew as I wipe the sweat from my brow. Here, bow and brow look like they should rhyme based on their spelling, but it's actually do not rhyme. This is an example of a classic I rhyme. And the next, the rhyme schemes. So rhyme scheme is the pattern at the end of each line of a poem or song. Usually, it is referred to by using letters to indicate which lines rhyme. For example, there is Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. My mistress' eye are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her eclipse red. If snow be white, by then her breasts are done. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. So, to know the sea, there is an example that sun is in the first line, so it's A. And red did rhyme with sun, so it's B. Done rhyme with sun, so it's A. And head rhyme with red, so it's B. So the rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B. You guys get it?
Yes.
Next. Next is rhythm. Rhythm is like the beat of poem. It's about how the words are stressed and unstressed, making the poem sound like music. Rhythm can make a poem feel happy, sad, or even exciting, depending on how it is. For example, there's this famous kid song like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. You guys must be heard of it, right?
Yes.
Siapa yang pernah dengar ini?
Yeah.
So, twinkle, twinkle, little star. So it's the bold one is the unstressed. Oh, distressed. I mean, sorry. And the regular one, like yang nggak di bold itu the unstressed one. So seperti tekanan lah. Twinkle, twinkle. You guys get it?
Yes.
Next is meter. Meter in poetry is like the poem's beat or rhythm. Kind of like the beat in music, it's made up of patterns of stress, or strong, the strong one, and unstressed, the soft syllables. These patterns are grouped into units called feet. And depending on how many feet are in a line, the meter gets a different names. So here's the quick breakdown of it. Monometer is aligned with 1 foot, and 3 meter is aligned with 2 feet. Dimeter is aligned with 2 feet. 3 meter is aligned with 3 feet. Tetrameter is aligned with 4 feet. Pentameter is aligned with 5 feet. Hexameter is aligned with 6 feet. And heptameter is aligned with 7 feet. Octameter is aligned with 8 feet. Next is, so meter gives a poem its rhythm and make its flow more predictable. So next is foot. A foot in poetry is like a small unit of rhythm. It's made of a certain pattern of stressed and unstressed beats. Kind of like how music has beats. When you put several beats together, they give you the poem, its rhythm or flow. So for example, there's lamp. One unstressed syllable followed by one stressed syllable. The dumb, above, above, and relax. And there's proceed. A stressed syllable followed by one unstressed syllable. So the beat goes proceed or table. And there's dactyl. Dactyl is one stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. Dum da da. Suddenly or happiness. And there's anacas. Two unstressed syllables followed by one stressed syllable. So it goes da da dum. Intervene or understand. And next is spongy. Two stressed syllables. It goes sunshine or heart rate. So the rhythm goes da da. So, and there is, last but not least, there period. 2 and 3 syllables. As in or in a. Although it's kind of rare for it to occur as a full word on its own, it usually appears in phrases. Next. Next is the other sound aspect. First of all is alliteration. The repetition of consonant sound at the beginning of words, it creates a musical effect, enhancing the flow's mood or theme. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Does anyone know how to read this? So, how about Chacha? Can you read?
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
It's hard, right? So the repetition of this sound creates a musical effect. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Next is assonance. It's the repetition of vowel sounds within nearby words, like alliteration. Assonance contributes to the sound and mood of a poem. For example, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. The repetition of A sound in rain, Spain, mainly, and plain creates assonance. Next is consonance. For example, the ship has sailed to the far off shores. The repetition of S sound at the end of has, sailed, and shores add consonants. Last but not least, there is onomatopoeia. Words that imitate natural sounds, like buzz, hiss, like a snake sound like hiss, and a bee sound like buzz. This word enhance the auditory imagery of a poem. For example, the bees buzz as the leaves rustle in the wind. Words like buzz and rustle imitate the actual sound associated with the action they describe. And next, your material is linguistic aspect.
So, this is the third aspect of elements of poetry. Seperti yang kita tahu, kalau poetry itu like painting with words. Kita membuat kreasi dengan kata-kata, dan itu termasuk dalam linguistic aspect. They use special techniques to create pictures in your mind and make you feel certain emotions. Untuk aspek linguistik yang pertama, yaitu adalah pemilihan kata. Untuk menggunakan kata dalam poetry, poets choose words carefully to make you feel certain way. Kayak ya, yang seperti yang bisa kalian lihat di sini, stormy versus rainy, itu jelas kalau penggambarannya berbeda ya maknanya. Jadi kayak stormy clouds gather heavy with rain. Kita semua tahu sendiri ya kalau stormy itu kayak vibe-nya itu lebih menakutkan, menegangkan gitu. Jadi ini puisi yang pertama ini tentang ya ketegangan dia badai. Untuk yang rainy days are cozy, a quiet delight. Tahu sendiri ya kalau hujan-hujan itu vibe-nya kayak tenang, kalem, adem gitu ya. Jadi gambaran untuk puisi kedua ini lebih menenangkan, lebih ya santai lah istilahnya. Terus untuk yang kedua, sepertinya yang kedua ada syntax atau word arrangement, itu susunan kata. Untuk susunan kata ini yang bisa kita lihat contohnya di sini, misalnya inverted sentence structure. Untuk contoh yang pertama, in the woods I wander, itu bunyinya seperti kayak misteri gitu. Jadi invert sentence structure itu lebih puisi itu tuh lebih menyeramkan atau nggak menyeramkan sih, lebih misterius, masih ada kelanjutannya untuk continue. Jadi orang-orang tuh kalau baca lebih penasaran apa lanjutannya, tapi mereka tetap menggunakan creation of words tuh. Terus untuk yang kedua itu ada enjambment. Enjambment itu bahasanya kayak membuat pesan frasa itu mengalir dengan ritme atau menekankan suatu kata. Kayak the woods are dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Jadi enjambment ini seperti keperluan untuk terus kayak kamu butuh terus-terusan baca sampai habis itu untuk paham, tapi walaupun kamu sudah habis itu tetap gantung. Tuh. Yang ketiga ada figurative language. Figurative language ini seperti yang kita tahu itu kata kiasan, kayak ada yang metafora, simile, personification. Dan untuk contoh-contohnya saya hanya memberikan 3 contoh seperti yang saya sebutkan tadi. Untuk metafor sendiri, metafor ini penggunaan kata bahasa yang bukan arti sebenarnya. Seperti contohnya, she is a rose among thorns. This metaphor compares the woman to a rose, suggesting that she is beautiful and delicate. Paham ya? Untuk simile itu perbandingan dua hal yang berbeda dengan kata hubung seperti, sebagaimana, andaikan, ibarat. Jadi contohnya ada the clouds are like fluffy cotton balls. This simile compares the clouds to cotton balls, suggesting that they are soft and white. For personification, maknanya sendiri itu ialah penggambaran benda atau objek yang tak hidup namun seolah-olah dibuat seperti hidup, jadi kayak punya sifat-sifat makhluk gitu. Contohnya, earth held the womb and nature formed her seed. This personification, the earth is portrayed as a sentient being that can feel a wound. Buminya bisa kayak merasakan luka gitu, padahal kan dia nggak bisa ngeluka ya. Dan nature is described as capable of sighting and expressing woe through her words. Kayak yang di line yang kedua, sighting through all her words give signs of woe. Untuk yang selanjutnya ada imagery. Jadi maksud imagery ini imajinasi. Kayak kalian kalau baca puisi pasti kayak membayangkan kayak indahnya ini kata-katanya, kayak bayang-bayangannya tuh kemana-mana. Jadi kayak gambarannya pegunungan kah, rumah-rumahan kah, orang-orangan kah gitu. Kayak contohnya the sun, a molten coin, slip below the horizon. Ya ini artinya kayak matahari itu andaikan kayak koin yang terselip di kayak pinggiran atau kayak ya pokoknya lubang. Tau lah koin kalau dimasukin tabungan gitu kan ya. Terus selanjutnya ada symbolism. Untuk symbolism ini maksudnya kayak tahu nggak ya, kalau simbol itu penggunaan simbol untuk membawakan ide atau kualitas. Using symbols to represent ideas or qualities, allowing for deeper interpretation beyond the literal meaning. Like the symbol above, you can see that here. Sunflower weary of time. The sunflower might symbolize life and aging. Kayak sunflowernya ini menggambarkan kehidupannya manusia, kayak umurnya, terus kayak ya hidupnya manusia ini begini-begini, kayak ya lurus di kalikunya gitu. These techniques work together to create a unique experience when you read the poem. They help you feel emotion, imagine pictures, and understand deeper meanings. That's all for me.
Oh. One more.
Oh, there's one more.
Okay, so this is the last elements of poetry, which is tone. I'm going to explain it. So tone is like the poet's attitude towards the reader and how the poets want the poem to be perceived. Like, the tone can be formal, serious, playful, sarcastic, and more, influencing on how the poem is interpreted. Kayak misalnya, clinical, and depressed, cheerful, sympathetic, outraged, positive, angry, sarcastic, ironic, solemn, vindictive, intense, or excited. So these are the tones or apa ya? Bagaimana si poetnya ini, autornya itu tuh pengen pembacanya itu membaca puisi ini, ya. Misalnya puisinya itu ada excited, itu nanti pasti pemilihan katanya juga kayak yang exciting, terus yang happy dan segala macam. And that's all from the elements of poetry. And then we move on to the conclusion.
The conclusion is poetry is a mix of different parts that come together to make something special. It involves, first, physical elements. It's how the poem is arranged on the page, like lines and stanzas. Second is a sound element. It's things like rhyme and rhythm that make the poem fun to read out loud. Last but not least, linguistic elements. The choice of words, imagery, and style that give the poem its meaning and feeling. Understanding these parts helps us appreciate how poems work and how they use language to stir emotion and ideas. Each poem is like a carefully crafted piece of art. Okay? That's all from us.
That is all from us. If you have any question, please ask.
Any question?
My name is Muhammad Febriza and I'm from group number 8, and I just want to ask, because you mentioned about Twinkle Twinkle song in the earlier, so can a music we call as a part of poetry? Poetry? Yeah.
Actually, the document shows that this is based on our opinion, okay, from our understanding of our material. So poetry includes rhythms and sound aspect, etc. So I guess we can consider music, but depends on the lyric, poetry, part of poetry.
Any question? Else?
Yes.
May I ask?
Yes.
Alright. My name is Muhammad Rizal Alejandro. I'm from group 4. So, Karina was saying that personification is giving human qualities to objects, right?
Yes.
So, can it work to animals or plants? Can they have the human qualities too in poetry? Thank you.
Saya bisa langsung jawab ya.
Okay.
Untuk hewan, tumbuhan, untuk personifikasinya manusia itu jelas bisa, karena ya bedanya makhluk hidup yang kan makhluk hidup ada 3 ya, kayak tumbuhan, hewan, manusia, dan bedanya hewan, tumbuhan sama manusia itu jelas pada akalnya, dan juga ya kayak ya sifat-sifatnya kan pasti beda-beda ya. Tanaman sama hewan tuh nggak mungkin punya sifat yang arogan kayak gitu sama kayak manusia gitu ya, jadi bisa.
So, can works. How about inanimate entities like wind? Wind. Angin.
Oh, wind